Hello, Recapped Mystery here. Today I will explain a horror video game adaptation movie titled Exit 8. The flick commences in a packed metro station where our main character, known merely as the Lost Man, is browsing his cell phone. Moments later, a woman starts to wail nearby. Thus, one of the commuters starts berating the parent for bringing their child into the cramped subway and upsetting others. The Lost Man, along with other travelers, overlooks what is happening and nobody aids the poor lady. As the Lost Man disembarks the railcar, he gets a call from his former partner, which he hesitantly accepts. She then imparts some startling tidings, disclosing that she is expecting and currently at the medical center. She seeks his counsel, but the fellow merely inquires which clinic she is in and states he wants to call. However, she asserts to have already formed her conclusion and unveils her determination, but the man does not perceive anything since the connection has been lost. The telephone exchange is also cut short, subsequent to which the worried man hurries through the subterranean passage toward exit number 8. Moments later, the Lost Man runs into an odd-looking elderly chap referred to only as the Walking Man. Our protagonist proceeds walking and soon arrives at a hallway where a notice board displays Exit 0. But when he advances, he once more finds himself in the main concourse with an Exit 8 sign and the identical Walking Man is moving toward him. This unnerves the Lost Man and he attempts to escape, but he discovers himself in the same location with the same fellow going by again and again. The poor chap comprehends something is amiss and at one juncture the Walking Man eerily stands behind him, causing him to hasten his stride in dread, but he soon encounters the same gentleman again, compelling him to reverse course in the contrary direction, only to wind up in the same underground corridor. He then attempts to locate a way out via the metallic portals and even activates the emergency beacon, but nothing functions. Moments later, the Lost Man observes the portraits on the partition when all of a sudden, he spies crimson liquid pouring from one of the placards. He begins to panic and retreats only to be startled to observe that the notice board has shifted from Exit 0 to Exit 1. He then examines details on a panel close by, which states that if irregularities are spotted, he must go back to where he originated, and if there are none, he must progress. It develops that by adhering to these basic directives, he will be able to depart from here when the notice board reaches Exit 8. Next, the Lost Man moves ahead and endeavors to converse with the Walking Man again, but the latter ignores him and walks past with a frigid, empty stare. Our protagonist continues and does not note anything peculiar. But when he nears the notice board, it reads Exit 0, signifying he overlooked an irregularity. To avoid repeating the same error, he now captures images of everything, including paintings, doorways, a fire plug, ventilation, and even the Walking Man. So he can contrast them all. He does not discern any irregularity and reaches Exit 1. Before exhaling a breath of relief. But when he gazes at the photographs he took, he is astounded to realize that they are actually damaged, meaning he is not permitted to cheat. While he is searching for an irregularity, the Walking Man abruptly appears behind him and grins bizarrely. The Lost Man presumes this is an irregularity. So he flees in the reverse direction, being pursued by the older fellow. Fortunately, our protagonist's assessment proves to be accurate. And he finally attains the notice board stating Exit 2. In the subsequent cycle, he examines all the objects and notices nothing altered. But all at once, he hears a youngster weeping from within the storage receptacle. He tries to unlock the receptacle at first, but eventually refrains from doing so and retreats in the opposite way. It turns out to be merely an irregularity and he manages to reach Exit 3, showing that everything is proceeding favorably thus far and all he needed to do was leave that youngster in the locker. Subsequent to that, the Lost Man surveys his surroundings and does not perceive any irregularity. However, as he proceeds to depart, he spots the sizable posters gazing at him unsettlingly. The frightened guy swiftly turns around and reaches Exit 4, which imbues him with optimism. The next cycle also proceeds smoothly, and without detecting any irregularities, he moves onward and reaches Exit 5. Shortly thereafter, he unexpectedly obtains a call from his ex again, who wonders where he is. The lost man answers that he is still in the metro and wandering in loops because he is misdirected. She wishes to discuss their predicament. So, he abruptly informs her about the babe in the metro who was sobbing previously and how a man was reproaching the parent. He discloses how nobody stood up for the poor lady, himself included, as they were all captivated by their cell phones. While we view his ex standing strangely behind him. Moments later, the man terminates the call and advances, but he is shocked to find himself back at exit 0. He recognizes that the telephone conversation was merely an irregularity and feels foolish since there is no signal in this locale. He has no alternative but to move ahead and observes the central hall lit totally in yellow. But he somehow soothes himself and turns back before reaching exit 1 once more. In the ensuing cycle, the lost man perceives a small youth, but he deems it merely an irregularity and pivots. Soon, he finds himself back at exit 0, which signifies the boy was genuine. The scene subsequently cuts to a flashback from the vantage point of the walking man, who is also confined in this subterranean passage. He manages to attain exit 4 without any difficulties and comes across the same small youth. The walking man realizes he is not an irregularity and decides they will discover their path out jointly. This instance, they spot a young female passing by each time in the hallway as a non-player character. Soon, the pair manages to reach exit 5. And while seeking irregularities, the young female abruptly commences addressing the walking man. She clarifies that she is also misplaced like them and supposes they might already be deceased and in Hades or Purgatory. That is what people thought about being lost, and everyone just finished up perplexed and irritated. But matters take a bizarre turn when the girl begins speaking in a corrupted voice, telling him that returning might not be the optimal course of action and they ought to remain there. Realizing that she is an irregularity, the walking man and the youth turn around and soon end up at exit 6, which fills them with optimism. In the next cycle, the boy detects a knob in the core of the portal, which was absent before, and focuses on it. The walking man does not grasp the clue and escorts the child away from there, only to wind up at exit 0. The man explodes in fury, tears down the informational placard, screaming, and then tearfully exclaims how he needs to encounter his offspring today. But after a few seconds, he eventually composes himself and takes the boy's hand before proceeding ahead. In the following cycle, they notice a flight of stairs that seems to lead to an exit, which makes the walking man quite eager. The boy comprehends it is an irregularity and tries to restrain him, but the man refuses and shoves him to the floor before departing solo. He soon vanishes, after which the boy reverses course and ends up at exit 1, which implies that he was correct. He progresses and observes the walking man again, but this time he is viewed moving like a machine. The frightened kid approaches him, but the man simply disregards him, revealing that he has transformed into just a non-player character and is perpetually caught in this nightmare. The youth shortly finds himself at exit 0 and proceeds ahead, where he encounters our main character. In the current time, the pair is observed surveying. The misplaced gentleman also becomes aware of this, and the two successfully manage to reach exit 2 by turning back. Nevertheless, in the following stage, the illumination in the corridor abruptly extinguishes, so the misplaced gentleman activates the lamp on his mobile phone. Events then adopt a frightening direction when abruptly, gore starts trickling from the ventilation, accompanied by the disturbing noises of an infant wailing and rodents shrieking. The misplaced gentleman becomes filled with aversion and terror when he observes a multitude of rats, each bearing human appendages growing from it. He then seizes the youngster's hand before turning around, and when the lights resume, they ascertain they have arrived at exit 3. The pair moves ahead and soon spots a lady standing eerily in the corridor's middle. It turns out to be the child's matriarch, so he finally speaks for the primary occasion and exclaims, "Mama," whilst attempting to draw nearer. But the misplaced gentleman realizes it is merely an irregularity, and they finally reach exit 4. When the child awakens, the two ultimately commence conversing, and the youngster discloses how he became separated from his mom, but he maintains he did it deliberately because he desired her to locate him. The misplaced gentleman is entertained by this and states he also committed the same foolish action as a youth. Subsequently, they keep advancing and the boy detects another anomaly, prompting them to reverse course. They reach exit 5 and in the next section, the misplaced gentleman observes one of the metallic portals ajar. He looks inside and is astounded to behold himself in the metro when the infant is weeping in his guardian's embrace. The man feels regret for disregarding them and shuts the portal, after which they turn back and attain exit 6. They feel quite optimistic and the man inquires of the boy what he shall undertake first if they get clear. Before they progress further, the boy presents him with a snail casing as a token and asserts it will safeguard him. In the subsequent cycle, the pair hears a loud signal and sensing the peril, the misplaced gentleman swiftly embraces the youth. Matters morph into an odd state when the corridor commences filling with foul water and the pair desperately attempts to turn back and depart. Nevertheless, they cannot advance very far ere the inundation overcomes them and drags them away. The vista then shifts to a shoreline where we observe the misplaced gentleman with his companion enjoying a delightful afternoon with their offspring. The pair is conversing when the boy runs to them and bestows upon his dad a shell he discovered. In a stunning revelation, it comes to pass that it is the identical youth from the corridor, and the misplaced gentleman clasps him tightly before romping with him in the sea. We then revert to the submerged passageway where the misplaced gentleman positions the boy atop an elevated marker and implores him to hold firm to evade being swept away by the flow. The boy assents, but regrettably, the current eventually sweeps the misplaced gentleman away. A short while later, the kid awakens and notices the deluge has vanished and discovers a heap of soiled residue surrounding him. He cannot see the misplaced gentleman anywhere, so he pivots around solo and reaches exit 7. Then he proceeds through the final stage where he notices no irregularities, prompting him to march onward. The scene then shifts to the misplaced gentleman, who proves to be still alive and sprints through the corridor for the conclusive level. Fortunately, he attains exit 8, and he is elated to comprehend that he has finally fled the dreadful place. He then gazes at the shell and reflects upon the boy before heading towards the steps. The misplaced gentleman notices several hurrying travelers and also obtains a signal on his phone, suggesting that he has finally reverted to the actual realm. Soon, he phones his companion and discovers that she is still at the clinic. She seeks his resolution, but he disregards that and declares he is coming to see her presently. The misplaced gentleman soon enters the subway to travel to the clinic. The same infant commences crying in his guardian's arms, and the same irate gentleman reprimands her for bringing the child and vexing others. The misplaced gentleman is aghast when he understands he still has not broken free of the cycle and has arrived in the identical situation as previously concludes.